If you are taking AP Human Geography and the exam is very soon, you are in the right place. I'm John from Marco Learning. I'm joined by Danny Sanchez, the HumanGeo guy. How are you doing tonight, Danny?
I'm surviving. I've done hours upon hours of review, what I call Dorkapalooza, and I'm all dorked out, but more coming. Let's do it.
Well, awesome, everyone. Listen, for everyone who's taking the exam in 5 seconds, do not worry. It is not too late to get your head in the right place before the exam. You're not going to dramatically increase your score, but you can make some really smart moves to help yourself focus on what really matters. A couple things I want to show you all really quickly. You're going to see this on there's a couple of Instagram pages. If you have your phone, go ahead and take it out and follow us at Marco Learning on Instagram. We are going live all through the week, this week and next week for AP exams. And crucially, here he is at the HumanGeo guy, literally holding the world in his hands, like Atlas. He also has 5 on his head. And so follow at the HumanGeo guy on Instagram. And if you're looking for resources, you're thinking, what do I do? You are not going to read 300 pages this night. You are not going to get all of that done. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the link I put in the bio for our study guide pack. You click download and it will pull up this. This is a 24-page cheat sheet that walks you through each of the main units of AP Human Geography. Do not try to memorize all these units the night before the test. Grab 1 or 2 of the weaker units that will help you plug that hole in what you know, and that will help you for the exam. And Danny, what are some other high-level tips that you would share with people as they're kind of cramming for the exam? Is it a good idea to spend the whole night cramming for an AP exam?
I'd say no. I have a general rule of thumb. If you don't know it by 10 p.m. the night before, you just don't know that. That might be a point you're surrendering tomorrow. So again, we're going to have our little session here, go over a couple of key concepts, but the main thing is pick a couple of blind spots for yourself and focus on those to get a slight improvement there, because that might be the difference between a 2 and a 3, 3 and a 4, 4 and a 5.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. What I'm doing real quick is I'm posting a notification for this in our Discord server. I'm going to post the link there. If you are enjoying this video tonight at any point, press the like button, subscribe to our channel. If you're a 9th grade, there's a lot of freshmen in AP Human Geography. We've got videos for AP Euro, AP World, AP US, AP Lang. Follow the Marco Learning YouTube channel, subscribe to our channel. We are here to help you. And definitely ask your questions here in the chat. Danny is happy to help. So Danny, I'm going to turn it over to you to share your screen. And I'm going to wish best of luck to all the AP Human Geo people in the world who are taking this exam very soon.
All right, everybody, thanks for joining us today. I'm not going to try to reteach you HumanGeo in, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. What I'm going to do here is just give you a couple of reminders, a couple of points of emphasis, a few places where you can make significant gains and improve yourself in specific areas for the exam tomorrow. I am on cloud 9 right now. I also sound a little hoarse. I know I feel that in my throat right here. And it's because I've done a lot of sessions over the weekend. I had a 10-hour review on Saturday. I just did a 5-hour review with my own students. I did about 4 hours of review yesterday. So it's just a lot of stuff going on right now. But hey, you've made it. We're at the end. The test is tomorrow. After tomorrow, you get to kind of take a deep breath and really just try to put yourself in a better state of mind in order to be able to just ride out into the rest of the year. I say that particularly because this class is mostly for 9th graders, and a lot of those 9th graders are only taking AP Human Geo. If you have other AP exams later in the 2-week window, my apologies, because you still have a couple of more weeks. But even then, just get to next Friday and you will have survived another AP season. All right, we already did the welcome. I'm going to do points of emphasis, some FRQ reminders, some multiple choice question reminders, and just some general final thoughts on things that are really going to put you in the good frame of mind to be successful tomorrow for that paper exam. All right, major point of emphasis on the AP exam is gender roles, all right? The role of women is critical to development. And the thing I really want to emphasize to you is that without question, There's a direct correlation. You treat women better, you make them part of your process in terms of economic development. And it's not just the women who benefit, it is society as a whole who will benefit. And the simple way that I preach this, I've done TikTok videos on this. I teach this to my own students. I do it when I tutor kids. When it comes to E, the easy way to remember it, when it comes to women, it's the 4 E's, all right? Let's talk about each E. You educate women. Why do you educate women? Because when you educate women, you put them in a better position to be successful in the future. It opens up more opportunities for them and allows them to work towards being self-sufficient, providing for themselves. In societies where I have the archaic old version, well, women's job is to have babies and take care of babies and be in the house and cook and clean. That is not a good position to be in, because it's real simple. You keep women down, you're keeping half your society down. So educate them and give them opportunities. And I felt obligated to put a picture of one of my personal heroes, Malala, who Pakistani girl who advocated and literally was willing to risk her life and was actually shot for advocating for education for girls. Nobel Peace Prize winner. Love this young woman. And she is literally the face of female education in the world. So educate women. By educating women, you put them in a position where you're able to employ them. And it's critical to remember that when women are able to have jobs, be part of the workforce, be outside of the home. And another critical thing to remember is not just that they're working outside the home by working the fields on a subsistence farm, because that's not getting economic dollars into society. All right. You have to be able to put them in positions to get jobs and become financially independent and to be contributing economic members of society. Employment is critical. The education leads to employment and puts them in a position where they can provide for themselves. They're not reliant on a man to take care of them. The joke I like to make is my wife, before her and I got together, she had her own house. She had her own brand new car parked in the driveway and a good job bringing in money every couple of weeks. My wife didn't need me. And she reminds me of that all the time. No, just kidding. She doesn't remind me of that. But again, I didn't come in to save my wife. My wife was doing just fine on her own. All right. Education gave her the opportunity for employment to provide for herself. Next, empowerment. And that's going to mean a few things. First off, when you empower women, they are not just going to be workers in an economy. They're going to be leaders in an economy. They're going to take a management role. They're going to be leadership. They're going to be making decisions. And when they are the ones making decisions, it puts them in a position to advocate and support other women and elevate, it's another E, elevate other women into similar positions to them. And it benefits, I feel like I have a broken record. It benefits everybody. It benefits everybody. That you have to understand that what you're looking for is women in leadership in order to benefit everybody as a whole. I would stress that point over and over again. So that's leadership in employment, in jobs, in companies. But there's also the empowerment of self-advocacy, being able to take care of themselves and be able to make decisions for themselves in terms of also reproductive health. Unfortunately, there's a lot of societies where women are perceived as being just only good for having babies and taking care of the family. And when women are in that position, and especially when they get married off as young girls, you marry off a girl at 13 or 14, it becomes that much more likely that she's going to have a huge family and be in a country like Niger, where the average woman is having 7 children, and the long-term ramifications, not just for women, but of society as a whole, being that strained. When women are empowered to make reproductive decisions for themselves, being educated about contraception, having access to contraception, that is also a benefit for society as a whole. And the last one, electing women, making them part of the political process. Here's a sad sentence. The United States is the most women we've ever had in Congress, and it's only 25% female. That is problematic, and most national governments are going to be predominantly male, despite the fact that women are about half the population. Actually, in a lot of the developed world, they're over half the population, since women's life expectancies tend to be longer. So think about gender roles, and if you can tie that into an FRQ, or it might be specifically in an FRQ, that's going to be a great avenue for you to get points. All right. Another point of emphasis is going to be scale, and identifying the difference between local, national, regional, and global impacts. All right. And what you see here is a picture of a McDonald's in Quebec. And you can tell because it's in French and there's other signage in the background. This is a McDonald's in Quebec. And understanding that McDonald's, while it started as a local business in America, has blown up in terms of scale. Another basic skill that you can get is going to be to identify the scale of analysis. If you have a map that shows, electoral patterns in America, and it shows you what states voted for Biden, what states voted for Trump, you can see, hey, the scale of analysis is going to be on a state level. If you have a map that shows you life expectancies for every country in the world, the scale of analysis is going to be national. That's what you want to understand. There's probably going to be at least 1 point on the exam, either multiple choice question or a section of an FRQ where you're trying to identify the scale of analysis. And remember, when it comes to scale of analysis, it's all about the details. What's in the details? What is the information that's presented? Is it how states vote? Is it how counties vote? Is it life expectancy around the world? Whatever the data is, that is your scale of analysis. All right, let's continue on. Another big theme in HumanGeo is going to be sustainability. How can you sustain the environment? And a couple of things to mention here: the building up of economies without trashing the environment, which, by the way, is very hypocritical of us in the rich world, because we built up our economy by trashing our environment. And now we're telling the poor world, yeah, that's what worked for us, but we don't want you to do that. So again, it's problematic when we're telling people, do as I say, not as I did. But again, building up your economy without doing damage to the environment. Next, using resources without depleting them. And that's going to be trying to go more towards renewable sources, trying to find ways to use resources in a way that does not wipe them out. And the idea that we are so reliant on fossil fuels, dinosaur juice from millions of years ago, is a huge threat to us long term, as we are realizing that stuff's going to run out soon. And if we haven't figured out a better option, we're in big, big trouble. So how can we use resources without depleting them? How can we be conservationists where, yeah, we'll use stuff, but won't deplete it to the point where it's gone? Also, preservation of the environment. Hey, everything can't be cleared out and built upon. You need some nature. I live in Florida. The big national park for us down here is the Everglades. And the idea that in a city like where I used to live in Miami, Miami keeps pushing further west, further west, further west. You keep getting deeper and deeper into Everglades. At what point do you say, we think we've built out this city enough, let's stop? Because that sprawl of the urban area of Miami makes the Everglades smaller every single day. And energy alternatives. The idea that we have to find a way to move on from fossil fuels and things we can do. We can use wind power, solar power, hydroelectric, geothermal, all these different means of generating energy, which are renewable. We can keep using them and are not going to be as environmentally negatively impacting. So how do we move in that direction? Because here's the thing, we already know solar power and wind power and hydroelectric and geothermal are going to be the future. The problem right now is we don't have the economies of scale to make it profitable. Once it's profitable, I assure you, we're going to go in this direction. But we're probably not going to go in that direction until the oil companies have sucked up every last drop they can and made every penny they can off of dinosaur juice. All right, let's move on from points of emphasis. I talked about the role of women, scale, sustainability. Let's talk about the FRQs. And I'm not going to do the full-on breakdown of what you do for an FRQ, but there are a couple of critical points I really want to hit you with, and the action verbs are critical. One of the things I keep getting hit with is, Mr. Sanchez, how much should I write? How much should I write? How much should I write? Well, it depends what they're asking you to do. If it's identify or define, if this is the verbiage, you don't have to write much. Identify, can you recognize and provide an example? Once you've recognized something on a map, once you've recognized something in a picture, once you've read something in a chart, say, hey, it's this, you're good. That's a point. These are the easy ones. Jump all over identify and define points. Define is why every single HumanGeo teacher I know is neurotic about vocab. You got to provide a meaning for a word or concept. You have to be capable of doing that. But once you've written the definition, you're done. Move on. You don't have to overthink these. When you see identify or define, that's going to be your opportunity to grab some points. All right, let's go to the next set of action verbs. That's going to be describe, explain, compare, and explain the degree. All right. These are longer ones. These are more involved. These are going to take more effort. You got to work for this. It's like anything else, anything in life worth doing is going to be challenging. And this is what you're looking at here. Describe. You got to prove that you know the concept, and you prove it by going with details. Think of describe, D for details. Simple as that. I'll say a quick story. When I was in ninth grade, I feel like, oh man, when I was your age, all right? But really, when I was your age, when I was in ninth grade, I read an 1,100-page book, and I had to do a 3-minute verbal presentation on it. And I did my 3-minute verbal presentation, and my English teacher called me a liar. She thought I hadn't read it. Not only had I read the book, it's my favorite book ever. I read the book twice. I've seen multiple movies on it. And it's like, no, I read the book. And she started quizzing me on the book because she had read it too. And I answered every question. And I proved to her that I had read the book by giving details. Describe, you've got to put the reader in a position, the person scoring your FRQ, where they can't deny you the point. This kid clearly understands the concept and has given enough detail where I can confidently give this point and not have that questioned. All right, that's describe. Give me the details. Give me a developed paragraph proving to me that you know what this concept is. Explain. Must provide understanding of the concept and one more step. How do you do that one more step? Use the word because, or you establish a cause and effect. Why does this happen? Because blah, blah, blah. What if A happens, the effect is B. Make the linkage why A causes B. You have to think about it like it is a great one that there's a teacher in Fort Lauderdale. I forget what school he's at. Great teacher, phenomenal teacher. The way he talks about it is, I want to give him credit where credit is due. I wish I remembered his name right now, but he said, you got to think about it like you're talking to a little kid and they keep asking you why. Why? Why? And each time you got to say because and back that up. Explain automatically. Your brain defaults to, I have to say because. Also, this is not a drop the mic scenario. You got to stretch your answer and push to get that paragraph. You are not getting an explain point if you only write a sentence. You're not. It has to be a perfect sentence, and perfect sentences are very rare. I have graded thousands of AP HumanGeo FRQs, and it is rare that out of those thousands, wow, this kid didn't write much, but this kid got the point. That's not something. If anything, what I get all day is this. Well, this kid knows what they're talking about, but they got lazy and didn't support the answer strongly enough. No point here. No point here. Don't drop the mic. Expand and stretch as far as you reasonably can. Now, don't just go like, word vomit. I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff out there. Make sure it relates. Make sure it's relevant. Make sure it matters. But don't drop the mic and like, I wrote 7 words. I'm going to get this explain point. No, you're not. I'm telling you right now, you're not getting it. You write one sentence on explain, it's a 99.9% certainty you're not getting the point. All right, let's continue on. Compare, find similarities or differences between 2 concepts, and you have to reference both concepts. This one drives me insane. Whenever there's a compare, let's say they're comparing commercial farming and subsistence farming, and they'll explain the heck out of commercial farming and stop and not draw the comparisons to subsistence farming. You gotta connect to both. Especially often these will have a stimulus on them, and you're using a map, a chart, or a picture. And if it's 2 side by side, hey, what's the linkage between these 2 things? Or how are these 2 things different? That's gonna be compare. And again, that's gonna be a paragraph. The last one, this is the tricky one. I'm not gonna lie. If you see explain the degree, they're making you work for it. They're making you hustle to get that point. It's the most involved of the action verbs. And actually, I'm going to tell you the truth. I tell my students, if you see explain the degree and it's like part C of like one of the FRQs, I say, look, just drop it to the end and get that one last, because make sure you earn all the other points before you really roll up your sleeves. I'm going to get this explain the degree point, because there's a lot going on here. First off, you have 2 distinct portions, and you got to close the loop. That's the phrase. You got to close the loop, connect the dots, finish the circle. However cliche you want to say to bringing things closed, you have to do it. There's 2 ways you can successfully accomplish this. One is going to be establish how much of a feature or model is present. Is it a lot present? Is it somewhat present? Is it not at all present? And you close the loop by explaining why. How much of this do you have? And what you could, like, here's an example. Let's say it's about an ethnic breakdown and why there is a large percentage of Hispanics that live in the Southwest. Well, first you say they're like, what's the degree? There is a large Hispanic presence in the Southwest. Okay, you've established how much of the feature. Why? You got to get into factors like distance decay, its proximity, it's the places that are closest to people migrating. Also, make the connection. It's Latin America, which is part of the developing world. We're here in North America, part of the developed world. One of the migration patterns is poor world to rich world. And that's how you begin to close the circle and make sure all the dots are connected. But you have to, like I said, you got to work for this one. You got to work for this one. Another possibility, how a model can be applied to the real world. Years ago, they did an FRQ where they took the von Thunen model, scaled it up, dropped it on the US, and said, talk about this. And what it basically had was the following. You end up with parts of it work. Hey, you get fruit, vegetable, and dairy near New York City, because that's what they made the center of the market, New York City. The timber lumber one didn't work so well, but mixed crop and livestock in the Midwest, pushing further cattle ranching out in Wyoming, you realize, man, it kind of works. So you can be, hey, several of the rings, if you scale up from New York City, work. But what's the failure of this? It's not perfect. You don't get the big lumber timber in the next ring beyond fruit, vegetable, and dairy. Additionally, it doesn't account for the fact that you're working towards another major population center on the West Coast. So if you're going to apply it to the East Coast in New York, as you push further west, it doesn't account for the flip that they're a major population center pushing in the opposite direction. So that's a way you would do this. Explain the degree is a tough one, and you're going to have to earn it, but it's not impossible. You can do this. You can be successful. All right. Continuing on from there, we're looking at easy mistakes to make, answers that are too short. If you just, again, like I said, drop the mic, you're not going to get the point, especially for explain, for compare, for describe, to explain the degree. Answering something other than the prompt. I can't tell you how many times I have read an FRQ like, man, this kid really knows how to write and they know content. This is just not what they asked for. Sometimes kids fall into the trap of seeing a buzzword like this FRQ prompt is going to be about this, and they just start writing, and they didn't bother to actually read what they're asking you to write. So please make sure you're answering what they ask of you. Also, not labeling the sections of the FRQ. If there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, label it A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You want to make the job as easy as possible for the reader. You really want to push them in that direction. Make it as easy as possible. Also, not finishing your thought. That is, again, making your answer too short. You don't get to the end. You don't get to the conclusion. And not referencing the stimulus. If they've given you a map, a chart, a picture, something to work with, please use it. Please at some point go, I think there might be some information here. A couple of years ago, there was an FRQ on gentrification. And literally what you see in the background, it's a construction site. What you see also is a building being renovated. What you see also is a sign saying, resist gentrification, go back to the suburbs. And literally just that picture alone would have given you three things there. Number one, a positive impact of gentrification. It creates jobs through construction. Number two, it modernizes the area by renovating it. And number three, what's a negative? It can create conflict and hostility towards the people who live there against the people who are entering the neighborhood. All three of those things were there in the picture, as obvious as can be. And yet the average score on that was the low scoring one that year. Out of 6 possible points, the average was a 1.7. And 3 points were right there in the picture begging you, write about me. I'm here. Hug me, love me, make me feel special. I'm here to get you points and a high score, and people ignored them. All right, continuing. Attacking multiple choice questions. Very simple. Read the question, and then read each answer option. I feel the need to say this because so many times, all right, read the question. You don't finish reading the question. You see a buzzword and you start working your way down. Also, you see the right answer in A or B, but here's the thing. You might have multiple right answers. Mr. Sanchez, how can there be multiple right answers? Remember, it doesn't say pick the right answer. It says pick the best answer, which means you might have a right-ish option and a right option. You got to make sure you're picking the right option. And the way I go back and make sure you didn't make a mistake, read the question again. Mr. Sanchez, I don't have enough time to make all this happen. Yes, you do. 60 seconds is an eternity. Just stare at somebody for 60 seconds awkwardly. You get real uncomfortable after about 4 seconds. All right. Please do this. Read the question, read the options, read the question again. A tip I've stolen from my good friend, Mr. Clark, follow at Mr. HumanGeo, another great account, another great teacher for human geography, my good friend out of Houston. He has his students read the options backwards, E through A. And he does that to force them to not skip anything. And if there's a distractor, if there's a trap shiny color, oftentimes those trap shiny color answers are there at the beginning before the correct answer because they want you to see that one first. And then ask yourself, what is this question actually asking? And sometimes it's easier than you realize. You might be in a situation where which of the following is a pull factor? Well, that's really just asking you which of these things is a good thing, because pull factors draw people in, or which of these is a push factor, which of these pushes people away. Simple as that. And tomorrow on that exam, you're going to have questions where you will earn points for no reason other than the fact that you can read a map or a chart. Can you look, okay, well, you have this much of this here and this much of it here. This one's bigger. Okay, that's the answer. Simple as that. Last year, they were giving points for like, can you read the chart and identify where, certain types of farming are more prevalent, or the tonnage of grain or something like that. The point ultimately is, can you read a map? Can you read a chart? It might be that simple. All right. Easy mistakes to make. Focus on your bubbling. If you skip a question, bubble accordingly. If you skipped 18, stop. Look at your bubble sheet and go, I am skipping 18, before you have the catastrophe of you skip it in the book, but you don't skip it on your bubble sheet. Next thing you get to the end, you think you're bubbling 60, you're bubbling 59, and you're in panic mode and you're trying to shift all your answers down. Please make sure that you bubble. If you skip a question, you skip the bubble. Skip and skip. Got to skip two, the booklet and the bubble sheet. Also, bubble as you go. Bubble as you go. I had a student a couple of years ago not forget to, but thought they could answer all the questions on the booklet and then transfer all their answers. Ran out of time. Really smart kid. Love this kid. The kid got a 2. And the kid got a 2 because simply just forgot to do that. And oh my gosh, it broke my heart. And the student told me that they left about 20 questions unanswered because they didn't get to, and still scored a 2, which says to me, had this person finished their 20 answers, good student, somebody who worked hard, knew what they were talking about, that kid probably missed out on a 4 because of just a simple mistake of not realizing you have to bubble as you go. Don't spend too much time on one question. If you don't know in a minute, move on. Move on. Also, ignoring the stimulus. It's not there to just be pretty. It's there for a reason. Use it. Also, don't talk yourself into an answer. What I mean by that, if you're pretty sure one thing's the answer, but I call this the curse of the smart kid. You overthink everything. You're like, I'm gonna, I know that this is a special exception. If you have to talk yourself into, well, sometimes this can be the example because, that's not the right answer. You're talking yourself. It's like talking yourself into a bad relationship. I think this is going to work out. I think it's going to work out. Maybe no, it's not. You already know it's not going to work out. Don't get into it. Don't get into that marriage. You know it's not going to work out. Don't pick the option that is like, pick me. Once in a while, I happen. Pick me. I'll make you feel special and loved. No, don't do that. Also, don't change answers. The only reason you should change answers is if you realize you made a catastrophic error. I read this question wrong, and now I realize what this question actually meant. Another thing to possibly, if you read something later in the test that might remind you, oh yeah, like this is an example of this because it's an option somewhere else. And I call this a memory trigger. Your memory gets triggered to remember something. That's a scenario like, okay, you can go back and take another look at a previous answer because something happened in your brain that made you realize you might have had a bad thought process there. And I'll also add this, just want to throw this out there to you. Please remember that if you guys, like, they're not gonna make this like impossible to do. They have the distractors there to distract you, but at the end of the day, the obvious answer is probably the right answer. All right, things to do. Final thoughts for tonight. You're here with me. It's 9:36 Eastern time. If you don't know it by 10 p.m., you don't know it. Get a good night's rest and just get ready for tomorrow. All right. And I put this little bead here, the man versus wild. If you haven't cried tonight, you aren't doing it right. That's a little bit mean-spirited of me, but look, like, this is not supposed to be easy. All right. You're supposed to have to work for this. You're supposed to earn this. And ultimately, by this point, the outcome has probably already been decided. You're kind of just maybe trying to fill in little gaps. And sometimes those little gaps might be the difference, like I said, between a 2 and a 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. But get a good night's rest. That's critical. If you don't know it by 10, find a way to just, let yourself disconnect, relax for a bit, and make sure that you are in a good headspace tomorrow as you walk in. Additionally, for tomorrow, don't try to cram content. I will tell you what I do with my own students. I do easy reminders. I do the visuals out of the textbook. I just worked my way through it. Hey, look at that picture. That reminds you of anything? Hey, they're building roads in Indonesia. That's infrastructure. That's something you should remember. You need infrastructure to develop your economy. But I'm doing visuals, simple, something easy, not overthinking it. We just go through visuals. At that point, I'm not giving a note. I'm not going over any specific content. Just, hey, look at this picture. It should remind you of something. All right. Also, remember, it's a noon local time exam. Have lunch before the exam so your stomach's not rumbling and you're thinking about how you forgot to eat a ham and cheese sandwich. But I'll also tell you, avoid sugar. You don't want to have the crash and burn there. You don't want to have the crash and burn. Also, bring a snack for in between sessions because you have about a 20-minute gap between the multiple choice portion and the FRQ. Make sure you eat something. And if you were going to have like a treat or something sweet, that's the time to have it because, maybe actually a little sugar boost going into the FRQ wouldn't be a bad thing, but I wouldn't do it for the exam because at some point you're going to crash and burn. Also, this is what I say every year. Find the funny kid, talk to them. The kid who takes nothing seriously, the kid who jokes around about everything, find that kid, talk to him or her, start laughing, and just walk in with a big old smile on your face and, a loud laugh. Because if you can do that, you're going to be in a much better space to be successful on that exam. All right. I'm going to invite John back into the session. If you could come back in, John.
Hey. Yeah. Danny, it's great to see you. I was actually just live on TikTok, if you could believe it, which is a bad life choice, and I feel very old. But I promised everyone that we would just hop on Instagram Live for a couple minutes and say hi to everyone. I know that your soul has left your body. It is the night before the exam. It's pretty crazy. But I just want to say hi to everyone on our Instagram channel. So if you have some time, everyone, follow us at Marco Learning on our Instagram page. I'm going to show you this real quick. Follow us here, and definitely follow at the HumanGeo guy. This is Danny Sanchez. His account, a great place. We're going to hop on there and go live and just say hi to everyone real quick. I had about 500 people in my TikTok live. If you haven't followed Danny on the HumanGeo page, do that. Also, if you just go to Marco Learning, right, you can see on our free resources page, this is what I've linked to in the chat. We've got a study guide for a pack of study guides for AP Human Geography, completely free, that you can use, not to cram, but to go over one or two key things, like grab units 1 and 2 and do that. So if that sounds good to you, Danny, I'm going to end this here. Everyone, right. head over to Instagram. You join on at the HumanGeo guy. I'll join at Marco Learning, and we'll suffer for a few more minutes before the night is over. And we're going to wish everyone good night. And if I can get Marco the dog on, we'll do that too.
The CEO, yes.
CEO of Marco Learning. So